The quantum defense grid sparkled like a web of starlight around Earth, each node pulsing with possibilities that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, her dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of humanity's greatest achievement. 20 years of work, countless breakthroughs, and one simple goal: protect Earth from any threat the cosmos might throw at them. Dr. Chen, we're detecting multiple quantum disturbances at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Michael Ross's voice crackled through the comm system. He was her lead sensor technician, and in 3 years, she'd never heard him sound worried. Until now. Sarah straightened her lab coat, a habit from younger days that stuck with her even in lunar gravity. Show me. The holographic display filled the air before her, showing ripples in space-time that shouldn't exist. Dozens of massive ships emerged from what appeared to be artificially generated wormholes. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent material that seemed to bend light around them, making them look like oil slicks against the stars. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Michael reported. Using perfect English. Sarah felt her throat tighten. First contact. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. But something in Michael's voice told her this wasn't going to be the celebration they'd hoped for. The message began playing throughout the station. To the governing bodies of Earth, we are the Hegemony Council of 12 Systems. Your recent technological development has been monitored and found to be in violation of galactic safety protocols. The quantum defense system you have constructed represents an unacceptable risk to spatial stability. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. The grid was safe. They'd spent years proving it, testing it, ensuring it couldn't destabilize space-time. These aliens couldn't possibly understand the safeguards they'd built in. The message continued. You will immediately begin dismantling your quantum defense grid. You have 48 Earth hours to comply. Failure to do so will result in forced technological regression of your species. General Diana Martinez stormed onto the observation deck, her normally immaculate uniform showing signs of a hurried dressing. Tell me the grid can handle them if they attack. Sarah studied the sensor readings of the alien ships. Their technology was advanced, but it operated on principles they'd already theorized about. The grid doesn't just handle threats, General. It learns from them. Each attack makes it stronger, more adaptive. That's why the hegemony is here. They're not afraid we'll destabilize space-time. They're afraid of what we've created. A defense system that evolves, Diana mused, watching the alien fleet through narrowed eyes. They think it's too dangerous to exist. What they don't understand is why we had to build it this way. Sarah nodded, remembering the disasters that had pushed humanity to this point. The asteroid that nearly hit Beijing in 2034. The solar flare that would have wiped out their technology if they hadn't detected it in time. The attempted takeover of nuclear launch systems by a rogue AI in 2041. Each crisis had taught them the same lesson. Static defenses weren't enough. They needed something that could anticipate threats, adapt to them, and evolve better solutions. Send our response, Sarah said quietly. Tell them about the Cascade Protocol. Diana's head snapped around. You want to reveal our failsafe, our last resort. They need to understand what they're really dealing with. The grid isn't just a defense system. It's our promise to future generations that humanity will survive. As Diana relayed the orders, Sarah walked to the quantum interface terminal. Her fingers flew over the controls, initiating deeper scans of the hegemony fleet. The grid was already analyzing their technology, understanding their capabilities, and calculating responses to every possible form of attack. The response from the hegemony came faster than expected. Your Cascade Protocol is precisely what concerns us. A defense system that can rewrite its own parameters, that can propagate through quantum states across space-time. It is an abomination that cannot be allowed to exist. Sarah opened a channel to the alien fleet. You misunderstand our position. We're not asking for permission to keep the grid. We're warning you about what will happen if you attack it. The Cascade Protocol doesn't just defend. It ensures that anyone who tries to destroy the grid will face consequences throughout their entire civilization. Attack us, and your own technology will begin to turn against you. Silence filled the frequencies for several long moments. Sarah could almost feel the aliens' confusion. They'd expected compliance or perhaps token resistance. Instead, they found humans who had built something they couldn't comprehend, not because it was more advanced, but because it thought differently than anything they'd encountered before. "Your species is young," the hegemony representative finally responded. "You cannot understand the responsibilities of wielding such technology. We have seen civilizations destroy themselves with lesser weapons." "No," Sarah replied, her voice firm. "You're the ones who don't understand. We built the grid because we had to. Because humanity faced extinction-level threats before we even reached the stars. We didn't have the luxury of gradual development or careful consideration of galactic protocols. We had to survive." The quantum grid pulsed around Earth, its nodes shifting through possibilities faster than any organic mind could follow. It wasn't just analyzing the hegemony ships anymore. It was reaching through quantum states, touching their home systems, understanding their entire civilization. "This is your final warning," the hegemony transmitted. "Disable the grid, or we will be forced to act." Sarah looked at General Martinez. "They're going to attack, not because they want to, but because they're afraid. They've never encountered a species that developed quantum technology as a defense rather than a weapon." Diana nodded grimly. "How long until the grid is ready?" "It already is." Sarah's fingers danced across the interface. The moment they emerged from their wormholes, the grid began preparing. It's been running simulations, analyzing their weaknesses, understanding their fears. When they attack, they'll learn why humanity had to become so dangerous just to survive. The hegemony ships began moving into attack formation, their weapons charged with energies that distorted space itself. But around Earth, the quantum grid sparkled brighter, each node now containing the knowledge of 1,000 possible futures. Sarah watched the alien fleet advance, knowing that the next few hours would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity. They hadn't wanted this fight, but they had spent centuries learning one crucial lesson. Sometimes the most peaceful species were the ones best prepared for war. The first shots would be fired soon, and when they came, the hegemony would learn why humans had named their defense grid after an ancient goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. Project Athena was about to show the galaxy exactly what humanity was capable of when pushed too far. The first wave of hegemony weapons fire resembled sheets of liquid light, rippling across space toward Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen watched through Lunabase's quantum-enhanced sensors as the attacks approached. Behind her, General Martinez barked orders to planetary defense stations, but Sarah's attention remained fixed on the grid's response. Energy surge detected in grid nodes 14 through 23. Michael reported from his station. "The grid it's doing something we've never seen before." The quantum defense grid's nodes began to pulse in complex patterns, each one shifting through multiple states simultaneously. As the hegemony's energy weapons reached the outer defense perimeter, something extraordinary happened. The attacks didn't impact against shields or explode against barriers. They simply ceased to exist. "By all the stars," one of the junior technicians whispered. "It's not blocking their attacks. It's redistributing them through quantum states." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The grid was performing exactly as theorized, but in ways they'd never had the chance to test. Each attack from the hegemony was being analyzed, broken down to its quantum components, and dispersed across millions of possible realities. No energy was destroyed. It was simply redirected through paths of least resistance. The hegemony fleet paused their assault, clearly confused by the complete lack of impact. Their next transmission carried an edge of uncertainty. "This is impossible. Our weapons are based on fundamental force manipulation. They cannot simply disappear." "They haven't disappeared," Sarah transmitted back. "Your attacks still exist, just not in this particular reality. The grid determined they would be more useful elsewhere." On her quantum interface display, Sarah could see the grid's deeper activities. It wasn't just defending, it was learning. Each attack provided new data about hegemony technology, their understanding of physics, their tactical doctrine. The grid was building a complete model of their civilization, one quantum interaction at a time. General Martinez stepped closer to Sarah's station, speaking in low tones. They're regrouping for another attack. Different formation this time. More spread out. The hegemony fleet had indeed begun to shift position, spreading their ships in a complex three-dimensional pattern that would have made traditional defense nearly impossible. Their next barrage came from multiple angles, using varying energy frequencies and attack vectors. This time, the grid's response was even more spectacular. Instead of simply redistributing the attacks, it began to mirror them. For each hegemony weapon discharge, an identical energy pattern emerged from the nearest grid node, but phase shifted exactly out of alignment. Perfect destructive interference, Sarah explained to the stunned observers. The grid isn't just learning their weapons, it's replicating and countering them simultaneously. The hegemony's response was immediate and harsh. You have weaponized quantum mechanics itself. This technology violates every natural law we have discovered in 10,000 years of space travel. Sarah opened a direct channel to their command ship. No, we haven't violated any laws. We've simply learned to work with them differently. Necessity forced us to look deeper into reality's structure than your civilization ever needed to. On her displays, Sarah could see the grid implementing its next phase of adaptation. Quantum tendrils of probability were reaching out through subspace, touching the hegemony ship's own systems, not to attack or disable, but to understand. Their ships are reporting system anomalies, Michael announced. Nothing critical, but their quantum sensors are going haywire. They can't get stable readings on anything within the grid's influence sphere. Sarah nodded. The grid is introducing quantum uncertainty into their sensor systems, making it impossible for them to get accurate targeting solutions. She paused, watching new data stream across her display. But that's not what's really concerning them. General Martinez raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Their sensors aren't just failing to read us accurately. They're picking up echoes of system failures that haven't happened yet. The grid is showing them possibilities, showing them exactly how their own technology could fail if they continue this attack. The hegemony fleet's formation began to waver. Some ships were pulling back, while others held position. Their command structure was clearly divided on how to proceed against a defense system that didn't just protect, it predicted and prevented. We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures reaching far beyond our solar system, Michael reported suddenly. The grid, it's extending its influence, following quantum paths back through the hegemony ship's wormhole signatures. Sarah watched the data with a mixture of pride and concern. The grid was exceeding their predictions, developing new capabilities in response to the threat. It had found the quantum threads that connected these ships to their home systems and was following them back, building an understanding of the entire hegemony civilization. They're powering up their main weapons arrays, General Martinez warned. All ships. This looks like a desperation play. The hegemony fleet's energy readings spiked to levels that distorted local spacetime. They were preparing to launch everything they had in one massive assault. But Sarah could see in her readings that they'd already lost this battle. They just didn't know it yet. Grid status, she asked quietly. Michael's voice was filled with awe as he replied. The grid has achieved quantum resonance with their entire command and control network. It's not just predicting their attacks anymore. It's suggesting alternate solutions directly into their tactical computers. Sarah opened a final communication channel to the hegemony fleet. Before you launch this attack, look at your tactical displays. Really look at them. Those alternate scenarios you're seeing. That's not system failure. That's the grid showing you a better way. The energy readings from the hegemony fleet began to fluctuate, then gradually decrease. Their tactical computers were filling with simulations, not of destruction, but of cooperation. The grid was showing them futures where their civilization grew stronger through collaboration with humanity, not conflict. Impossible, the hegemony commander transmitted. Your defense system, it's not just protecting you. It's offering to protect us as well. That's what we've been trying to tell you, Sarah replied. The grid wasn't built to destroy. It was built to preserve, to protect, to find paths through the quantum foam that lead to survival. Not just for humanity, but for any civilization willing to learn. The massive energy signatures of the hegemony weapons gradually faded to standby levels. In the silence that followed, Sarah could almost feel the shock rippling through their fleet as they realized the true nature of what they'd encountered. They had come to disable a weapon, only to find something far more powerful, a system that could reshape reality itself in the pursuit of peace. The quantum grid continued its silent work, weaving possibilities into certainties, turning potential conflicts into paths of cooperation. Humanity's greatest defense had proven itself not by destroying an enemy, but by showing them a better way to exist in a universe full of uncertainties. The news spread through the galaxy at quantum speed, carried by the same entangled pathways the hegemony used for their faster-than-light communications. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact. They had fundamentally changed how an entire civilization viewed reality itself. 3 weeks after the initial confrontation, Sarah found herself in an impossible situation. Explaining quantum mechanics to a room full of alien diplomats aboard the neutral station Harmony Point, hastily constructed at the edge of the solar system. The grid doesn't just exist in one state, she explained, gesturing to the holographic model floating above the conference table. The aliens watch with their various sensory organs, some with multiple eyes, others with electromagnetic sensors, and one species that seemed to perceive reality through quantum fluctuations directly. It exists in all possible states simultaneously, only collapsing into a specific configuration when interaction becomes necessary. A hegemony scientific advisor, whose crystalline body structure sparkled with internal light, raised an appendage. But such a system should be impossible to control. The quantum uncertainty alone. That's where you're thinking too linearly, Sarah interrupted gently. We don't control the grid. We guide it. The difference is crucial. On the other side of the room, General Martinez watched the exchanges with diplomatic attaches from a dozen species. The initial crisis had evolved into something none of them had expected, a galaxy-wide scientific conference. Your species evolved in a hostile environment, observed Sinra, a representative from the collective of free worlds, a coalition of civilizations that had long chafed under hegemony dominance. This shaped your approach to quantum mechanics in ways we never considered. Sarah nodded. Earth's history is filled with extinction-level threats. We needed a defense system that could handle anything, from asteroid impacts to solar flares to artificial intelligence gone rogue. The solution had to be as adaptable as the problems it faced. The holographic display shifted, showing the grid's current state. It had grown more complex since the confrontation, developing new nodes and connections as it learned from interaction with alien technologies. Each node now pulsed with patterns that even Sarah found difficult to interpret. We're detecting quantum resonance effects throughout our territory, the hegemony advisor stated, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. Your grid is influencing systems light years from Earth. Not influencing, Sarah corrected. Communicating. The grid recognized similar quantum-based technologies in your systems and established dialogue. It's sharing defensive capabilities, helping your systems evolve better protection protocols. The revelation sent a wave of murmurs through the assembled diplomats. The idea that Earth's defense system was actively improving other civilizations' technology was both thrilling and terrifying to them. Michael's voice came through Sarah's personal calm. Dr. Chen, you need to see this. The grid is showing new behavior patterns. Sarah excused herself and moved to a private viewing station. The data streaming across her screen made her breath catch. The grid wasn't just sharing defensive capabilities. It was creating a new kind of quantum network that spanned multiple civilizations' territories. "It's beautiful," she whispered, watching the patterns emerge. "It's turning different species technologies into a collaborative defense system. Not just for Earth, not just for the hegemony, but for every civilization it contacts." General Martinez joined her at the station. "Is it safe, giving them access to our defensive capabilities?" "It's not giving them our technology," Sarah explained. "It's helping their existing technology evolve in its own unique way. Each civilization's quantum systems are developing along paths that make sense for their specific needs and understanding." The hegemony scientific advisor approached, their crystalline form now pulsing with patterns that oddly mirrored the grid's own rhythms. "We're detecting something extraordinary in the Carina sector. Multiple quantum systems are spontaneously achieving harmony with each other. The effect is cascading." Sarah smiled. "The grid is teaching our systems to talk to each other. It's creating a galactic immune system." On the main display, they could see it happening. Different civilizations' defense systems were beginning to resonate with each other, sharing information and capabilities while maintaining their unique characteristics. The quantum web was growing, evolving, becoming something greater than any single species could have created alone. "This changes everything," Chinray observed, their sensor arrays pulsing with excitement. "The balance of power, the flow of information, the very way we interact with space-time. That's what we've been trying to tell you," Sarah said. "The grid was never about power or control. It was about survival, not just for humanity, but for any intelligence capable of understanding and working with it." The hegemony advisor's crystalline form shifted colors, displaying what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of deep thought. "Our civilization has existed for 10,000 years. We thought we understood the fundamental nature of reality. But your species, in less than a century of quantum research, has shown us that we were thinking too small." General Martinez smiled slightly. "Necessity is the mother of invention. When your only options are innovate or die, you learn to look at problems differently." New data streams began flowing across the displays as more civilizations' quantum systems began joining the growing network. Each edition brought new perspectives, new ways of manipulating reality, new possibilities for defense and cooperation. "There will be resistance," the hegemony advisor warned. "Some will see this as a threat to their autonomy. They're free to opt out," Sarah replied. "The grid doesn't force connections. It offers possibilities. Each civilization chooses its own path." As if to emphasize her point, the holographic display showed multiple quantum systems operating independently while still maintaining harmonic resonance with the larger network. "Unity without uniformity, strength through diversity. Your defense system," Chinray observed, "has become something far more significant than a weapon or shield. It's becoming the nervous system of a galactic civilization." Sarah watched the patterns flow and evolve, each moment bringing new configurations, new possibilities, new ways of understanding reality itself. "Not a single civilization," she corrected. "Many civilizations, each unique, each valuable, each contributing to something greater than themselves." The quantum grid continued its work, weaving connections through the fabric of space-time, turning ancient rivals into colleagues, transforming fear into curiosity. Humanity's need to survive had given birth to something that would help all species thrive. The warning came through the quantum network as a ripple of discord, a pattern that broke the harmonious flow of information between civilizations. Sarah was reviewing grid performance data with Chinra when she felt it. A disturbance in the quantum field that made her skin prickle. "Something's wrong," she said, her fingers flying across the interface. "The grid is detecting a massive quantum anomaly in the Orion spur." Shinra's sensor arrays flared with alarm patterns. "The Succession Collective. They've been quiet since the network formed, but our intelligence suggested they were planning something." The main display at Harmony Point lit up with real-time data from the quantum grid. The Succession Collective, a group of isolationist civilizations that had rejected joining the quantum network, had activated some kind of massive quantum device. Reality itself was beginning to warp around their territory. They're trying to sever their section of space from the rest of the galaxy, General Martinez announced as she strode into the command center. Some kind of quantum isolation field. They think they can wall themselves off from our influence. Sarah studied the readings with growing concern. This is worse than isolation. Their field is creating quantum discontinuities. If it expands unchecked, it could tear apart the fabric of space-time throughout that entire sector. The hegemony advisor's crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. We're detecting critical failures in quantum communication nodes throughout the affected region. Millions of lives are at risk. Sarah watched as the grid responded to the crisis. The quantum network that now connected most of the galaxy's civilizations began to shift, its patterns adapting to the new threat. But this was different from the original confrontation with the hegemony. The network wasn't just defending. It was trying to heal space-time itself. Look at this, Michael called from his station. The grid is creating some kind of quantum counterwave. It's using the combined processing power of every connected system in the galaxy. On the main display, they could see it happening. The quantum network was generating a field of its own, one that didn't fight against the Succession Collective's isolation barrier, but rather sought to stabilize the space around it. Like a doctor treating an infection, the grid was working to contain the damage while helping the affected region heal. Their barrier is failing, Shinra reported, their sensors focused on the conflict zone, but not from attack. The grid is teaching their quantum technology how to work properly. Sarah nodded, understanding what she was seeing. The collective tried to force reality to conform to their desires. The grid is showing them how to work with reality instead of against it. The massive quantum device the Succession Collective had activated began to pulse with new patterns that matched the harmonic frequencies of the galactic network. Their attempt to isolate themselves had instead given the grid a direct connection to their systems. They're panicking, General Martinez observed, watching tactical displays showing collective ships going into emergency maneuvers. They think we're taking control of their technology. Send a message, Sarah said quickly. Let them know we're not attacking. The grid is preventing their device from tearing space-time apart, but they're in control of whether they want to join the network or not. The response came through traditional communication channels rather than the quantum network. Our independence is non-negotiable. We will not be absorbed into your collective consciousness. Sarah opened a direct channel to their leadership. Look at your sensor readings. Really look at them. The grid isn't absorbing you. It's showing you how to achieve what you actually want. True independence, but without endangering the rest of the galaxy. On the quantum level, something remarkable was happening. The collective's isolation field was stabilizing, but in a way none of them had anticipated. Instead of creating a barrier, it was establishing the unique quantum signature, one that would allow them to maintain their isolation while still existing safely within the larger framework of space-time. Their quantum device, the hegemony advisor observed, it's becoming a sort of translation layer, allowing them to exist apart from the network while still maintaining essential communication. The grid didn't just solve the crisis, Shinra added. It found a way to give them what they truly needed rather than what they thought they wanted. Sarah watched as the quantum patterns shifted and settled into new configurations. The network was learning, adapting, finding ways to accommodate even those who wished to remain separate from it. It was demonstrating a level of problem-solving that went beyond mere defense or technological innovation. This is why the grid works, she explained to the assembled representatives. It doesn't try to force solutions. It looks for the underlying patterns in reality and works with them. The collective wanted independence, so the grid helped them achieve real independence, not isolation, but genuine autonomy within the larger galactic community. General Martinez smiled slightly, a very human solution, finding a way for everyone to get what they need without anyone having to lose. The quantum network continued to evolve, incorporating the lessons learned from this crisis. Each challenge made it stronger, not through force or dominance, but through understanding and adaptation. Humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't just technology. It was a new way of approaching problems. The collective's quantum signature is stabilizing, Michael reported. Their region of space is now distinctly separate from the network, but without creating any dangerous discontinuities. They've achieved true quantum sovereignty. And in doing so, Sarah said quietly, they've taught the grid something new about the nature of independence and cooperation. This is how we all grow stronger, not by forcing uniformity, but by learning from diversity. The crisis had passed, but its effects would ripple through the galaxy for generations to come. The quantum network had proved it could protect not just against external threats, but against the fears and mistakes of its own members. It was becoming exactly what humanity had hoped for, a system that could safeguard civilization itself while respecting the right of all species to choose their own path. 1 year after first contact, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The quantum grid that once only encircled their planet now connected humanity to a vast network of civilizations, each contributing their own unique understanding of reality to a growing galactic consciousness. Sarah stood in the newly constructed Quantum Collaboration Center in Geneva, watching representatives from dozens of species interact through both physical and quantum means. The main hall's holographic displays showed the ever-shifting patterns of the network, now far more complex and beautiful than anything they had originally designed. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" General Martinez asked, joining her at the observation window. "When we first built the grid, I mean." Sarah shook her head. "We were just trying to survive. Create something that could protect Earth from any threat." She gestured to the alien representatives below. "Instead, we ended up creating something that could help everyone survive." The quantum network had evolved far beyond its original purpose. It wasn't just a defense system anymore. It had become a framework for galactic cooperation, allowing different species to share knowledge and resources while maintaining their unique identities. "The Hegemony Council is ready for your presentation," Michael announced, approaching with a datapad. They're particularly interested in the latest quantum harmonics developments. The same hegemony that had once threatened to destroy Earth's technology was now one of their closest allies. Their deep understanding of spatial mechanics, combined with humanity's innovative approach to quantum systems, had led to breakthroughs neither civilization could have achieved alone. Sarah made her way to the presentation chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy waited. The crystalline form of the Hegemony Advisor sparkled with anticipation patterns, while Xinra's sensor arrays pulsed with scholarly interest. "The quantum network has shown us something remarkable," Sarah began, activating the chamber's holographic systems. "Each civilization that joins brings its own unique quantum signature, its own way of interpreting and interacting with reality. Instead of creating uniformity, these differences strengthen the entire network." The display showed how different species technologies interacted with the quantum field. The hegemony's precise, structured approach created patterns of remarkable stability. The free-flowing, intuitive systems of the collective of free worlds added adaptability and spontaneous innovation. Even the Succession Collective's isolated region contributed to the whole, their unique quantum signature serving as a reminder that independence and cooperation could coexist. "Humanity's greatest contribution," the Hegemony Advisor observed, their crystalline form resonating with the chamber's quantum field, "was not the technology itself, but the philosophy behind it. You showed us that true strength comes from embracing diversity rather than enforcing conformity." "We had to learn that lesson early," Sarah explained. "Earth's history is filled with examples of rigid, unchanging systems failing when faced with unexpected challenges. Nature taught us that adaptation and cooperation are the keys to survival." The display shifted to show the network's latest evolution. New quantum nodes were appearing spontaneously in previously empty regions of space, created by the collective intelligence of connected civilizations. The grid wasn't just protecting them anymore. It was helping them expand, explore, and grow. "We're detecting quantum resonance patterns we've never seen before," Michael reported from his station. "The network is developing capabilities that none of our species predicted." Sarah watched as the patterns shifted and flowed. It's not just our technology anymore. It belongs to all of us now, growing and evolving with each new perspective added to the whole. Sinra's sensor arrays pulsed with excitement. The implications for exploration are enormous. The network is already mapping quantum pathways to other galaxies, preparing for the day when we're ready to reach beyond our own. But it's not forcing that expansion, General Martinez noted. Just like it didn't force the Succession Collective to join, it presents possibilities and lets each civilization choose its path. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement from the assembled representatives. They had all seen how the network operated, how it respected boundaries while fostering connection, how it protected without controlling. There's something else, Sarah said, highlighting a particular pattern in the display. The network is showing us possibilities we never imagined. Ways of manipulating space-time that could solve problems we thought were insurmountable. But it's not just giving us solutions, it's teaching us how to find them ourselves. The Hegemony Advisors Forum pulsed with understanding. A teacher rather than a protector. This is why our attempt to suppress your technology was so misguided. We saw it as a weapon to be contained, when it was actually a key to unlocking the galaxy's potential. Sarah nodded. The grid was born from humanity's need to survive, but it's grown into something that helps all species thrive. It's showing us that the best defense isn't a wall or a weapon, it's understanding. Understanding each other, understanding reality itself, and understanding that we're stronger together than apart. The quantum patterns above them danced with possibility, each fluctuation representing potential futures where different civilizations grew and evolved together. The network they had built to protect one world was now safeguarding countless species, not by controlling them, but by helping them learn from each other. This is just the beginning, Sarah said softly, watching the pattern shift. We built the grid because we had to find a way to survive. What we actually created was a way for all of us to discover how to live. The quantum network continued its endless dance, weaving together the knowledge and wisdom of countless civilizations while preserving what made each unique. Humanity's greatest defense had become the galaxy's greatest teacher, showing them all that the path to survival led not through isolation or dominance, but through understanding and cooperation. In trying to protect their world, they had helped create a new one. A galaxy where diversity was strength, and where the quest for survival had led to something far greater. The ability to truly thrive together.